Morning, legends. Turns out the Burj Khalifa isn't actually that tall one. It only took me 33 minutes to get done. Not too bad. Today is a cross-training double day, the best. But the second reason why today is one of the best days of the year is because I have to get my blood test done to make sure that I'm still fit and healthy and happy and, you know, ready to absorb all this training that I'm about to crush in the next couple of months now that my body is feeling amazing. But the third thing that makes this a very important day is because I've been noticing something really shit online recently that looks to me like a bit of an epidemic in the running community, and that is the stress fracture epidemic, man. Everyone is getting stress fractures all of a sudden, and I want to know why, and we're going to investigate that today because I've had one in the past and absolutely sucks. Also, new hats on sale, this color, a blue color, a fire orange color, amazing shit. They are the best hats ever. They're also, you know, in Australian currency, 40 Australian dollars, which, you know, doesn't really do well anywhere else in the world. So you might get a really, really good deal on a hat. Get around it. All right, let's go. So the thing about this epidemic, okay, is that you don't need a vaccine for this. You just have to sort your decision-making out. You see, I had a fracture in my calcaneus. It would have been last year, 2024, in February. Fuck. The calcaneus is the heel bone. I'm not that flexible, okay? Now, I felt this heel pain for probably 7 running days in a row before I decided to stop running because it hurt so bad. Which is really, really stupid, but not that stupid when you consider that most runners actually just continue running through certain injuries for like 6 months' time, okay? Now, that 1 week of extra running on this stress fracture, which it ended up being, resulted in 9 weeks of no running at all. 1 week of bad decision-making, 9 weeks off. That is not good.
Just like this rain is not good. God damn it.
Now, perhaps if I had a video like the video that I'm going to be making right now, that you're going to be seeing right now, if I had that video 1 year ago, perhaps I wouldn't have waited until day 7 to stop running. Maybe I would have stopped on day 1 and fixed it within 3 weeks rather than 9. So today is my public health announcement, my public service to the running community about stress fractures and how to get rid of them and how to mitigate them and how to never deal with them ever again, because stress fractures suck. And once you had one, your risk factor to getting another one within a 1 year period is 30%. Ugh. Now, to understand this concept of stress fractures, we have to do 2 things. The first one is to warm our brain up, okay, by doing 5 star jumps, just to, you know, get blood into the brain. And number 2 is to understand the physiology of how stress fractures go from something that doesn't feel too bad to excruciating bone pain. Okay, let's talk about bones themselves. Okay, the bone is essentially like a zucchini. So inside the middle of the zucchini, there is like a bony marrow center, and then it changes color into this yellowy bit. That's the cortical bone, okay? And on the outside, that is the periosteal tissue. So grade 1 of a bone stress injury is actually inflammation of the periosteal tissue on the outside. Now, the thing about the periosteal tissue is that it's where all the tendons and the connective tissues and the fascial tissue all connect into the bone itself, you know. That stuff takes a lot of load, and so the first signs of having some stress on the bone is actually periosteal issues like shin splints or tendinopathies, things like that, okay? Over time, once we continually run on these things, we get to grade 2. Now, grade 2 is when there's inflammation in the actual bone marrow itself, okay? This is caused by too much load. It's just too much is happening at once. The bone cannot actually adapt, and so there's a big inflammatory response. Not ideal, okay? And as it starts to get even worse, what tends to happen is that this inflammation starts to reduce the density of the cortical regions of the bone. That is between the periosteal outside layer and the marrow inside. This area starts to reduce in density over time, and eventually, if given enough stress, a crack will emerge in areas of the bone where there's actually lesser bone density. This is not good, and a zucchini is a perfect representation of this process. So here's public service announcement number 2. Now, there's an interesting phenomenon involved in bone stress injuries where the closer it is to your spine or your spine itself, the more likely it is that it's not necessarily just loading factors involved. Perhaps there's some bone, hormonally driven stuff, and probably some nutritional related stuff, okay? We'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? But if it's down in the foot and the ankle and the shin, it's probably likely that it's load related. And then as it gets into the femur and, the femoral neck and the hips and the sacrum and the lumbar spine, perhaps there's some more serious holistic things going on to actually cause this issue. So simply put, number 1, how you actually run itself. This relates to the lower, further away areas, okay? Maybe you have these asymmetries in your gait, something like that. Number 2 is load related in general. Are you putting too much load on your body and you cannot actually adapt to that load? Number 3, not eating enough food. Okay, we're going to cover that in a second. Number 4 is not eating enough food that has certain nutrients that promote bone growth. So let's talk about load management itself, which I think is probably the main culprit for this massive amount of stress fractures going on in social media and stuff like that at the moment. A lot of people are not childhood runners, including myself. And so getting my load up above 4, 5, 6, even, up to like 10 hours that I've seen some people doing, that's a lot of load on the body. It's a lot of impact. And without that massive training history, that load management is going to be so vital in stopping you from getting any stress fractures. And also the way that you're actually running itself, it's really important to get a gait analysis or get some videotape so that you can see where you're breaking down. It's also really important to do more functional movements on video and see, do I have certain things that are going to be slowing me down or making me inefficient, causing me to put more load through my bones, spending more time on the ground when I'm running, not being efficient? Things like that, you should definitely get someone that's experienced, like myself in gait analysis, to actually identify for you and get on top of that straight away. If you guys have any of those issues, let me know in the comments below or message on Instagram. I'm going to start some coaching online platformy stuff in August. So that's going to be really exciting. I'm going to do that too. But let's talk about the main big thing that I want to get across today, which is about eating enough food. So here's why not eating enough food is absolutely brutal on your bones, okay? Fuel in the body is what drives hormones, okay? Hormonal health. And hormones are really important in regulating recovery, okay? The more hormones that you have, the more recovery that you're gonna get in. That is amazing. Every single recovery process in your body, including bone health, is downstream from eating enough food. So if you're not eating enough food and you have no idea how much food you're supposed to eat and you have no idea how many calories that you burn when you're running, this is the guidance that you need to not get these issues, because what's gonna happen is that your muscles and your bones are just gonna snap. So food is important, but things in food are also extremely important. You see, your bones are built up with minerals and stuff like that, basically. I don't really know much about that. But anyways, this study here, for example, talks about vitamin D and how important it is for bones. As it says here, very recent studies suggest that the prevalence of stress fractures decreased when athletes are supplemented daily with 8,000 international units of vitamin D and 2,000 milligrams of calcium per day. This stuff is so important, okay? You need to build up those minerals in those bones so that you can run faster and harder and not have to get stress fractures and take 9 weeks off, okay? That is so important, okay? Vitamin D, calcium, zinc, all of those elements that are built into the matrix of the bone itself. We have to make sure that our diet is actually supplementing that if we're crazy endurance runners. Okay, so here are my own personal rules that I use to detect these kinds of things in people that I see. Okay, the symptomatic things, okay, the things that people say that makes me go, it's probably a stress fracture. Okay, very specific areas of pain on the bone. Now this is different to something like shin splints or tibial stress, things like that. The characteristic differences would be that shin splints and stuff are broader areas of connective tissue that's located on the bone. It's on the periosteum, like we talked about before. Okay, lower grade bone stress, okay, compared to higher stuff where it's the cortical bone has changed in density, and so you're starting to feel the loading of that area and eventually maybe a little crack. Okay, it's very specific areas on the bone, not big broad areas. Okay, now unlike things like shin splints that take a bit of time, but they eventually warm up in your session and you can carry on once you've got through that initial kilometer or two, bone injuries do not. They feel like shit, and your brain is telling you to stop running every single step of the run. This is a big red flag that something is not right, and running on this is not going to be a good outcome. Stress fractures and stress reactions also do not like cold, okay? Any kind of cold pack or something is going to make it feel absolutely worse. It's going to be like an electric shock pain right in that one specific area of that bone. Not good. It's also going to be really achy and sore and stuff like that at night. So those are the symptoms that you can identify quickly to go, that sounds not good. Let's flash some alarm bells, okay? Now, the next thing that I always get people to do, doesn't matter what stress fracture it is, okay? It's a very simple test that I have to take my bag off for that pretty much guarantees that, yeah, it's probably a stress fracture. Okay, one simple hot test, apart from obviously pain at the site of the bone stress, wherever it is. But the next test that I always do is really, really simple, and you can do it right now, okay? You stand on one leg and you hop 5 times, okay? If you can't hop, or the thought of hopping 5 times on your impaired limb makes you, have shivers down your spine, it's probably a stress fracture, brother, and you probably need to go see a doctor and get a scan. So if you're positive on those 2 subjective and also objective tests, then here's what you have to do, okay? Stop doing any kind of impact, okay? Stop making an issue worse, even if it is giving you that much grief that you can't even hop. Running is hopping. You shouldn't be running if you can't hop, okay? That's basically the first thing. You can start to do some low to no impact cross training, okay? Get a referral, go see a physio, go see a sports doctor. Get on top of this as quickly as possible, okay? If you have any of those symptoms, please, public service announcement, don't run through them. Don't go and do your marathon race that you've been training for, okay? Running on a stress fracture in a race or anything like that. Please just go get some assistance, okay? Get a rehab protocol, get some sort of clarity with someone that has their, trained hands that they can put on you and figure out what's actually going on and get you on the right track, because this stuff can be horrible. The last thing that I want is that anyone who watches this video then goes on to have an 11-week break from running because of a stress fracture. That is what I do not want. Okay, so there you go. Hopefully you enjoy. Let me know in the comments below if you have one and how you're going with it and everything like that. Okay, I've been through it before. 9 weeks off. Not fun. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!